Hello and welcome to another SciFirst MovieTalk episode. In this episode I will be discussing the 2017 sci-fi horror creature feature Life. There have been a number of films with the same title, Life. One that springs to mind is the 1999 comedy starring Eddie Murphy. Just to clarify, this review is most certainly not that film. So, in watching this film for this review, I had very little idea what it was actually about. It's not often that happens. Well, to be fair, I knew that it was a movie set in space, potentially contained an alien of sorts. I did think, however, it was going to be more psychological, more of a psychological thriller, akin to perhaps Danny Boyle's Sunshine, or perhaps even Paul W.S. Anderson's Event Horizon, rather than the creature feature that I actually got. I'm not saying for 1 minute that I wouldn't have been happy with a movie like those. However, I was pleasantly surprised. I do like a good creature feature sometimes, especially when I'm not expecting it. The film is set pretty much mainly in space, in orbit around the Earth, on a more futuristic version of the ISS, the International Space Station, and sees its 6 crew members, including Jake Gyllenhaal, Rebecca Ferguson, Ryan Reynolds, just to name a few, comprised a multinational team of scientists, engineers and officers. They take on board a soil sample from an unmanned probe returning from an expedition to the planet Mars. Their aim is to search for possible signs of life on Mars, and boy, do they find it. Their investigation finds a microbe in the soil sample like no other they have encountered on Earth. Quickly it grows and adapts, and what starts off as intrigue and wonder quickly turns into gut-wrenching nightmares. What then ensues is a race against time and the newly grown Martian in order to save themselves, the space station, and ultimately Earth from the clutches of the extremely adaptive, clever, and seemingly ever-resilient organism. At first, when the film started, I did think I was going to be sick a bit. They used lots of spinning camera shots to give the impression of rotating and weightlessness, given the fact that we were, of course, in space. It was a bit much to begin with, and it did make me a bit dizzy, if I'm honest. But this died down pretty quickly after the intro scene had passed. And once my head had recovered, I did think that the cinematography throughout of the film was absolutely stunning, with some excellent shots of the ISS and some absolutely mind-blowing special effects. Yes, I know, given the premise of the film, an alien let loose on a spacecraft, it's all been done before. And the film does borrow elements from other films in its genre, such as Alien for the story and Gravity for the cinematography. They both spring to mind. And whilst perhaps not as good as Alien or Aliens, it is certainly better than some of the other entries in the series. And I mentioned this as Alien Covenant was in fact released in the same year as Life. And for me, Life was the better of the two by miles. All this being said, I must say that the film moved very briskly. Kept my interest from the start. I love the way the organism evolved, the intrigue the crew members had for it at the start and how quickly that turned to hate. Us scientists say, sometimes we can get so preoccupied with the experiment itself we can sometimes forget to take a step back. And in this case, I mean way back. The film had some truly nail-biting moments and some genuinely gory elements. A couple of them had me almost, and I say almost, closing my eyes. You know when somebody else has pain inflicted on them, and all you can do is cringe at the thought of it happening to you. The creature itself was quite stunning, and whilst perhaps not as menacing looking as H.R. Geiger's Alien from the Alien franchise, those things are going to be my nightmares forever. The alien in the film was very stealthy, streamlined, extremely intelligent, super resilient, and even quite elegant. There are times when it looked completely non-threatening, all of which made this creature terrifying in its own right. It did get me though, as to how resilient the creature might actually be. One has got to wonder what reduced it to a single-cell microorganism back on Mars, and if it grew and developed as proficiently on Mars as it does in the ISS, what happened to all the others? The man boggles. So, this is how sad I am. As a scientist, what I really did appreciate was the attention to little details. Well, for the most part at least. When the team are examining the Martian soil samples and conducting their tests on the newfound microorganism, With regards to how the experiments were being conducted, it was nice to see that some consideration had been given to how such tests might actually be conducted in a zero-gravity environment. There was the use of some kind of gel in order to hold the samples in place instead of just letting them fly off, and you could clearly see how other equipment and samples were anchored or adapted to be used in such an environment also. Some nice touches, I thought. Well, for me anyway. However, I say for the most part, and I am being extremely picky here, as in a couple of the cupboards, in order to make it look more laboratory-like, they had a series of what's known as conical flasks. Well, this is a conical flask. These hold liquids, as you can see. And they're used to undertake reactions, titrations, and stuff to basically mix the liquids. In a zero-gravity environment, I'm baffled to know what they could have been used for. Any thoughts? Anyway, overall, I thought this film was fantastic, okay? So we've been here before, but you know, I didn't care. It was stylishly executed, and it kept you on the edge of your seat. Basically just what you want. Definitely recommended it. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. If you like my reviews and general movie discussions and other oddities and things that we've got on this channel, then please do leave a like. Please do hit that subscribe button. But please do feel free to leave a comment on this episode or any other. If you've got any ideas for anything, any upcoming SciFirst MovieTalk episodes, we'd love to hear from you. So, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.